Hello and welcome to another Budget and Leggit video. This video is going to be wiring my new fans, because in the last video what we did is we actually made this radiator shroud and we fitted the two new fans, because there was a 12-inch fan fitted before and it's fitted wrong. I don't like it. It's pulling the air that way. It's not great. It's just, you want the drawer of the fans to work. I've put it in a shroud, but I've also all rubber mounted the shroud, so that is, as you can see, absolutely perfect. Two 10-inch 120 watt fans. That's only a 60 watt fan. These fans, the CMF on these fans is unbelievable. It's like 2,500. They're just phenomenal. With this twin fan setup now, with the radiator shroud, if I ever wanted to, I should build a twin turbo this. Anyone want to send me a twin turbo set? Yeah, sorted. And so yeah, so what we're going to do now is we're going to cut these off properly and mount these properly. And also I'm going to wire them actually in properly. I don't have the proper connections yet. I've ordered them, but because of the old virus and stuff, God knows how long they're going to take to get here. So just for the time being, I'm just going to use some normal clips to put it in there, and then once I get the proper ones, I'm going to install them properly. But for the time being, we're going to get it in. Also, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it so the car switches its own fans on, because again, you have to physically turn the fan on yourself, which if you forget, you can be in trouble. There has been a proper one wired in, but I don't know how they've wired it. They haven't wired it to the existing wiring harness on the car, which in my opinion is stupid. Also have the switch inside, which we're going to have, but also have the car so it can turn on the fans itself at whatever temperature it turns them on at. So that's what we're going to do in this video. Sorted. Since I got this car, this was one of the things that was really bugging me, because it was just cable tied straight through the radiator, which isn't very good, because you can just damage the rad with that because of vibrations. Now, lucky enough, this engine doesn't really vibrate, which is brilliant, but still, it's still a very bad thing. You can see kind of what damage you have to kind of do to get the cable ties in. I just don't like it. It's the wrong way around as well, which I don't like, and I've been wanting so badly to take it off. Also, there was no gap. What you're supposed to do with my new radiator shroud, there's maybe a 5 or 6 mil gap before it actually goes on the radiator to allow the fans to work properly. Butted straight up to the radiator like that, they don't work properly, and it's a big old thing, and we don't need it. Get it out! Right, I've been scratching my head for a while thinking what's going on, because it should just be a simple case of putting 1 or 2 wires from there to my temperature sensor. Once it earths, it should turn on the fans, and I cannot get the fans to turn on by the earth, which is really unusual, but I've just possibly found the problem. Here is the earth to the fans, and if I was to put a multimeter on continuity, which is not a great test, but when I put them together, it's recording, so just hold that out.
Do you know how important I am, Leah?
That's fucking important. Put it down there, you got it down there, yeah? Can you see this one? I want to go home, so stop fucking around, you dick. Lift it up. Right. So, I put it to here and here, nothing. So then we'll try the other one. Let's try this one here. And it's dodgy. It was doing it a second ago, but now it's not.
Story of
So I think that the reason why my fans aren't switching on is because the earth on the car, see, look, there it's dodgy. So I'm going to clean the earth, and hopefully that's my problem. Sorted. Right, I'm having a bit of issue with this. I can't figure out how he's wired the relays in, so I'm going to leave that for the minute. But what I did really kind of see, I just wanted to see if there was a thermostat in it, because there shouldn't be for what we're doing with this engine. You should always take the thermostat out. So what I've done is, the thermostat lives here, and I realised there was a thermostat in. Now, we do have a slight problem. We need to clean it. You can see all the gunk and crap around it, and we need to clean inside here. But the thermostat is its actually own seal. So as you can see, the thermostat is the seal. So I can't just take out the thermostat and put some gunk around it because it won't seal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the thermostat physically out of it, so I can, the middle of the thermostat is out, but I still have the seal. So what we're going to do is, right, so all I'm going to do, very simple. I might have to get the snips for this actually. Yeah. Just break out the bottom clip. I'm just going to get the grinder. Right, we're good to go now. As you can see, we got all this clean, got all that clean. Just going to bang it on and we're going to test it again. Sorted. And just before anyone says something, I know with the ordinary engines, I think it might be slightly different on the VVTi. If you take out the thermostat, you have to block this pipe up here, otherwise it doesn't circulate. But as you can see, on this engine, it is circulating lovely. So even though I've took out the thermostat, this is still circulating and the radiator is getting warm. What you do have to be careful of is the engine just circulating itself around and not getting the radiator warm and overheating. But in this case, I'm not sure why, because even the people I've spoke to said I have to block off that if I take out the thermostat. If you leave the thermostat in, you've got no problem. But in this case, in this engine, it's working fine. So anyway, that is it. Right, just be careful, because normally on the non-VVTi engines, definitely, when you take the thermostat out, the water will only circulate around the engine and the engine will overheat. That pipe I showed you needs to be actually welded internally, and then you don't have an issue. When you keep the thermostat in, you don't have an issue. But the problem is with keeping a thermostat in, it can cause you problems, especially when you're ragging the engine in drifting, in rallying, in whatever you happen to be doing. Well, not so much rallying with that engine because it's a V8, but you get what I'm coming from. It's always best to take the thermostat out, but just be aware that on most of these engines, it won't circulate the water, just like some of the BMW engines. My engine is circulating the water. You can clearly see the radiator is getting hot. If you're unsure, take out the thermostat and start the engine. And if your radiator isn't getting warm, you know it's not circulating. It's going to overheat. So be very, very careful. I'm not sure why mine is circulating. I've asked a few people and they don't know either. It might be because it's the VVTi, it might be a slightly different setup, but just bear that in mind, because otherwise it can catch you out. Sorted. Why is it whenever I do anything, it never turns out to be simple? It should have just been a very simple wire from the fans relays to the temperature switch over there to make it work, to make it switch on, and it just doesn't. The fans switch on, but they don't switch off. I've done a little bit of testing. I just don't know how they've wired it in, and I don't want to go ripping out all this. So what I decided to do was buy an inline temperature sensor. So what this is going to do, this is just essentially a switch. It goes inside your pipe, and once the engine gets hot off, or the water gets hot enough, it will allow the fans to switch on. This is a 85 to an 87. So in other words, when it gets 85 degrees, the fans will automatically switch on, and when it gets to 77, they'll turn off. I can still do it manually, but it's nice to have, you know, the car doing it just in case you forget or something crazy. So that was simple enough. So what I did is I took off the pipe and I measured the actual bore of the radiator, thinking I'd be okay. So I ordered the part and I took off the hose, cut it in half, and it's too big. The hose on the engine is bigger than the pipe here. So what someone has done is they've just kind of made it fit over here, which it kind of works, but it's not great. So of course it's now my problem. So I've now got a hose that actually fits and it's the right size. This hose isn't the right size and it was just basically a bodge. So we're going to have to do it properly. So what I now have to do is just double check this. Lucky enough I had some spare hose and it's more or less the right kind of shape, which is good. I need to cut this hose in half and just feed this in. It's very simple. Once I've done that, I'll actually turn the camera back on and I'll show you. But these are very cheap and they are actually quite handy to have. The reason why I don't want to go anywhere near that is because the ECU is seeing that, the car is seeing that, the race dash is seeing that. There's two temperature sensors there, or two temperature switches. I just want a separate one just because it's going to be easier now, because like I said, I just don't know the way it's wired in. It's not wired in the way I would do it. So this is just easier for me. Right, I have it installed with a new pipe because the other one was just wrong, and I'm now waiting for this to heat up, and we're going to see if we can get the fan to turn on and off. Sorted. Right, I've moved the earth to there like I did before because it was originally on here, and this bolt has like a rubber washer on it, so you know I've just moved it to there just to try and get a better earth. And I've just quickly wired it up. I haven't used my proper connections or anything. I just want to see if this thing actually is doing what it's supposed to do. So start her up. What we're going to do is we're going to wait for this to get up to temperature, see if the fans switch on and switch off. Sorted. Right, we are at 85, so this is going to kick on any second now. What are we at? 86, so any second I expect this to kick on. It's an 85 to 77 degrees, but you know there's always a bit of leeway up and down, so as long as it kind of kicks on any second, we're gonna be all right. Please, please. What are we at? Oh, there we go. Boom. What was it? 87. Lovely. Now let's just wait and see when it kicks off. I can feel the heat coming past them fans. That fan shroud is doing a fantastic job. Right, it's just switched itself off. What was it? Huh? 82, 81. We're not 100% sure. So there we go. Boom. It's working. I can now wire this in properly. Sorted. Right, look at that. Like it was actually there all along. Now I know people might say I'm going well over the top. Electrical liquid or liquid electrical tape, as well as heat shrink. And this is going to be nice, sealed, no problems. Sorted. Right, so what we're going to do is we're just going to cut these down to size. It's actually 20mm that I particularly need for these little inserts. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, rather than cutting the bolt and leaving the nut on it to recut the threads, I've got a new little gadget that actually doesn't mean you don't need to do that. And also, if you hit the threads and damage it, this little gadget will repair them. Sorted. Now, as you can see, this will not go back on there. Watch it do it now. You are joking me. Seriously, people, how many times have you actually seen that to happen? Wow. That's unbelievable. Typical. Anyway, I'll show you this because I've been showing other videos. This is from Welsh Worksug. And what it basically does is, if you hit the threads, you know, say you got a wheel stud and you hit, or a wheel bolt and you're hitting the brakes, you're hitting something and you damage the end of the threads, or you just cut a bolt like I have, put this over. As you can see, what it does is it rounds the end, and it allows you, and it allows you to get the bolt back on. But how many times have you ever seen that to actually go on straight away? That is just absolutely unbelievable. So yeah, just unbelievable for that to happen. But anyway, there you go, sorted. Right, what I've got to do is I've got to wait for my connections to come for the fans, because I don't want to use them. I want to use the proper connections. They're on order. Then I'm going to sort out the actual fan wire. But at the minute the fans are working. But there is one more thing I want to do inside the car, so I know if my fans are physically working. So I'll show you that now. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wire these two red lights up. Just because the thing is, with the engine and the exhaust, you can never really hear the fan. Just because it's now switching on with the heat, and if I then flick it on here, you can't really hear it. So these little red lights are going to be proper indications. So I'm going to screw one here and one here, and they will actually light up when the fans are working. Now if the fans stop working for whatever reason, them lights will go out. So I'll know that there's, you know, even though the switch is on, there's no fans working, or just one's working, or whatever. So I'm just going to do that there. It's just an extra safety thing that I like to do. And it's not like necessary. I just like to do it because, you know, it's a visual thing and you can physically see it rather than kind of listen out for hearing it. So that's what we're going to do now. And it's Boom, there we go. So it's going to be F1 and F2, which is fan 1 and fan 2. So I'll know physically if they're working. Even though the button's switched on, I'll physically know if they're working. Right, so as you can see, we got them all in. We turn our ignition on. And obviously once the car heats up enough, the fans will switch on, and let's just pretend it's heated up enough and we'll flick them on. As you can see, both lights come on. I'm going to put some little stickers here saying F1 and F2, but it's not really that important because I know this is fan 1 and this is fan 2. If one of the lights go out or both the lights go out, I know that the fans aren't working, even if I switch it on properly. So it's a really good indication to know that your fans are running or not running, as the case may be. So there we go. Look, I finally got it done to how I like. Like I said, these aren't particularly like important or crucial. You don't need them. I just think I personally think they're important. I like them. Right, finally I have my connections here, the male and the female connections for my fans, so I can finally sort out this wiring and actually have them connected in properly, where you can clip them in and out if you want to change anything or take the radio out or whatever the case may be, which is really, really good. So what I've done is I've just marked the two sides, because we've got two black wires going to each of them, and you can put these any direction, but it changes the fan. So I've got the fan set up to how I want it, so I just want to make sure I put them back. But as you can see from this wire, it goes in between the coil packs and stuff. I just don't like it, so I'm just going to take all this off and I'm going to run the wire in through here and just make it a lot neater, put the connections on. I'm not going to film it, but once I've got it all done, you'll see the difference, and just how, you know, it's going to make this a lot better in my opinion, just neater. Well, I've just stripped back some of the heat shrink just to see, because I wanted to get the earth straps a lot better and in a lot better position, so I just ripped it out there because that was only a temporary one anyway. And I'm going to have to extend this one, so I'm going to take this one out and use a new piece, because I want it longer, just so I can get it a lot neater, and because I've ran it through this channel here rather than going underneath the spark plugs and stuff. I just wanted to get it as neat as I possibly can, and it looks nicer, and also it stops any chafing problems or any wires getting caught or anything like that. And it looks nicer. Right, people, job done. How much neater is that now? Just absolutely so much neater. I've put it with all this special corded line in, but I have run out, and this is really annoying me, so I've ordered more of this braided hose here. So all this is braided hose. As you can see, I've made it all with braided hose. It's just a lot stronger and looks a hell of a lot nicer. But just look at how much neater this is now. I had white cable ties on there, but they were really doing my head in, so I've changed them all with black. I'm going to change that to the braided stuff, and I am going to get the proper connection for that. I can't seem to find one yet, but I will. And yeah, so look, a million times better. My fans are now done properly, to the sense of how I like them done, and nice and neat. No wires going across here, no wires going across here, just nice and neat. You can't even really see them, looks like they're not there. So yeah, that's it. So look, hope it helps. Please like, share, comment and subscribe. Don't forget, links up here, links down below, but most importantly, don't forget, get your hands dirty. See you for the next one. Sorted.